I'm gonna hold your hand while I say this because we don't have a lot of time. This one might be hard to hear. Hi, my name is Summer and welcome to my bedroom. I am a former 400-pound woman and currently 323-pound woman who is actively trying to better my life through weight loss. I am about 21 pounds away from being 100 pounds down from my highest, so I have a lot to say about weight loss. This time, I have a lot to say about a TikToker named Jae Bae, whose plus-size travel accommodations are something that I strongly disagree with. These specific TikToks are from April 2023 and May of this year, so by internet standards, they are already ancient, but I still have strong opinions about them that I feel are worth sharing, so please bear with me as I catch up to the internet. Now, I want to be very clear here. It is not my goal to spread hate or to pick on Jae Bae for no reason. Instead, it is my goal here to point out the flaws in her arguments when it comes to the needs and requests that she feels are reasonable to make. In one of her most viral TikToks, Jae Bae created a petition that would require airlines to provide 1 to 2 extra seats for plus-size passengers for free.
So you want to hear my hot take on plus-size travel and why I think every plus-size traveler should get a free second and even third seat on an airplane? Then you better keep watching and sign my petition to make some real change. Let's just state facts. Plus-size travelers need more space. And many people agree that plane seats are too small, even for the average size person. As a plus-size traveler myself, I know how uncomfortable and unsafe it can be to squeeze into a tiny airplane seat. We are not asking for special treatment or luxury accommodations. We simply want enough space to travel comfortably and safely without fear of being discriminated against because of our size. It's truly that simple. If you agree that every traveler deserves to fly comfortably and without fear of discrimination, then go ahead and please sign my petition and share it with everybody that you know. Let's work together to make air travel more inclusive and accommodating for everyone.
Now, here is what I agree with. Everyone has the right to travel and live their lives as they see fit. What someone is happy with when it comes to their own lives and their own bodies is none of my business. But as someone with a body that was and still is close in size to the bodies that Jalen is fighting for, I do have strong opinions about her messaging. Plus-size travelers do need more space, but they are not entitled to it. They should have to purchase the seats and the space, just like every other passenger. It is a for-profit business after all. You are exactly asking for special treatment and luxury accommodations. Flying is a luxury, not a right. It is something that you want, not something that you need. It appears to be something that you yourself built a brand around. So I do have to wonder whether your intentions are really for change or for personal gain. On a way more serious note, the use of language like discrimination, dehumanization, oppression, which can be found throughout her TikTok page. It's almost offensive. You are not being persecuted for the size that you are. You are just uncomfortable in your surroundings. Likely because you are uncomfortable in your own body, and I mean physically. You can say that you love it, and I'll believe you, but there's no way that you are comfortable physically. Maybe that's not okay for me to say, but oh well. The use of this language seems to be a really good excuse to let your problems be the world's problems instead. To make it seem like your situation is someone else's responsibility, someone else's fault. You also don't explain what the discrimination here is. I would assume that it's likely somebody not enjoying sharing the seat that they paid for with somebody who's sitting next to them. Or is the discrimination really just that the needs of your size are not being catered to? I get the sense that this offhanded use of buzzwords is to make your audience feel like society is letting us down, letting you down, letting plus-size people down, as though your situation cannot be helped, and that your size needs are permanent needs that are somehow not linked to your lifestyle. The messaging here almost sounds reasonable, with terms like inclusivity, accessibility, body equality, but it sounds to me like what you're really asking for is increased comfort so that you do not have to change. If you do not want to change, I don't think that you should have to. I think it's an individual's prerogative whether or not they're truly comfortable and happy within their own body and their own lives. And change is for an individual to determine if it's something that they really want. But asking for public, private, and standard amenities to be changed on a public platform for hundreds of thousands of maybe impressionable people and maybe obese people, maybe people who are struggling with their weight to see, these are messages that I do not agree with. I do not believe that it is normal for people to gain weight to the point of obesity. It is not normal to need oxygen to walk. It's not normal to need 2 or 3 airplane seats. And this lifestyle is something that should not be encouraged, let alone accepted as just another body type. It is a slippery slope that I myself, as a currently obese person, want no part of. It is not discrimination if a person cannot fit into an airplane seat, if they can't fit under their seatbelt, or into standard size clothing. It is obesity. It is not any individual, any private business, or society at large's job to accept anyone at their size. If you accept yourself, then that's all there is to it. But if you cannot live the life that you want due to the health implications of your size, then maybe you're not as happy as you say you are. And maybe it's time to choose to fight for your health rather than your acceptance. Obesity is something that can be changed. It is not something that any diagnosis or genetics forces you to live with. It is incredibly difficult, but it is possible. And you need to believe that if you want to change, because if you don't believe it's possible, you will never change. And I don't want you to blame the world because you didn't believe in yourself. This is mainly why I feel Jae Bae's messaging is a net negative to the world, especially to larger people. I feel as though her requests and argumentation allow for people like us, people in obese bodies, to feel that our situation in life is permanent, that it can't be helped or changed, that we are powerless to control the lives and bodies that we live in, and that our size is just a fact of nature, and that it's natural. And even worse, that our obese state is something that should be celebrated. This makes every opposing viewpoint and situation that doesn't cater to our size a personal attack on us. We echo the idea that our bodies are just like this, and that if the world tells us no or stands in our way, then they hate us. We're being discriminated against. Because it is now them who is the problem for not accepting us, instead of us taking responsibility for our own lives. Now, I don't believe in placing blame. I don't think it's productive to say things like, well, you did this to yourself. But I do believe in taking responsibility. And though obesity cannot be changed overnight, though it may take years to course correct, the idea that it is impossible needs to be challenged because it is simply not true. And if you are someone of a larger size and you want to change and you've run into these narratives online, I beg you, I urge you, do not listen to them. Do not believe them when they say that you're supposed to be this way and you should accept yourself as you are. If you take anything at all from this video, it's that change is possible if you want it. Now, back to Jae Bae. Under the same guise of requesting accommodations, Jae Bae tells the story of a harrowing experience that she had at an airline where she was refused a wheelchair.
My ordeal at SeaTac Airport will shock you. This experience I'm about to share with you is yet another example of why employee sensitivity training, a demand outlined in the plus-size travel petition, is desperately needed. I'm a plus-size wheelchair user, and on a recent flight to the SeaTac Airport, I requested wheelchair assistance, as I always do. When it came time for me to deplane, I saw the employee who would be assisting me with my wheelchair waiting for me in the entry of the jet bridge. As I approached her and she realized she'd be assisting me and not one of the smaller passengers, she started to walk away with the wheelchair while making comments about my size. Even when I told her I really needed the chair and needed her to let me sit down in it, she blatantly ignored me and kept walking. I was then forced to walk up one of the longest jet bridges I've encountered, and she didn't stop. By the time she let me reach the wheelchair and sit down, my lips were white. My oxygen levels had dropped and I almost fainted. This was my first time flying without oxygen. This woman just assumed I could walk and would rather me do that, instead of her having to push someone my size up the jet bridge. All the other attendants wheeled their passengers up the jet bridge, but my needs were disregarded. This is discrimination. Nobody should be treated this way. Share your story at change.org/size travel.
In response to this video, I'm kind of just going to play the next one, and then we'll get into it. When it comes to my plus-size travel petition, people like to compare a person needing to buy additional plane seats to the concept of paying for overweight or additional luggage. But you need to understand something. Once you check your luggage, there is a human that has to handle that luggage and get it onto the plane. And did you also know that back injuries are very common for ramp agents at the airport? To lower that risk of back injury, strict standards have been set on how much that baggage can weigh. Also, let's be clear, that luggage is an inanimate object, and people are sentient individuals with a right to a certain level of decency, respect, and safety. So stop comparing people to luggage. A plus-size individual or tall individual or someone needing more space on the plane is not the same as someone wanting to bring an extra Gucci suitcase. Humans are not being carried by ramp agents who could potentially hurt their back, and we deserve space on a plane to be comfortable and safe. So stop saying that if someone is taller or they weigh more, that they deserve to pay more for the same experience getting from point A to point B, because that's just not fair and it's not human decency. If this story is true, though I personally question the validity of it, I do sincerely feel for her. I have ambulatory wheelchair users in my family, and I have firsthand experience with what it's like for them when accommodations are lacking. However, somehow in your own words, it seems that the health and safety of an individual only matters in certain situations. Only when you need pushing or luggage needs storing. Did you ever stop to consider that this attendant couldn't push you safely? What about her back and potential injuries? You compare yourself to smaller passengers just long enough to call your situation discrimination due to your size differences. Instead of acknowledging that your weight is likely a reasonable issue here for the staff to have to weigh their own health and safety against. Now, I believe that you need accommodations, and that if you need them and they are available, that you should use them. But part of needing accommodations is coming prepared with a plan. A backup plan, an A, B, C, and D plan. I would never take my disabled family members anywhere without personally being prepared to accommodate their needs. So why would you not do that for yourself and your partner? For example, if the airline does not have a wheelchair for you, can you bring one of your own? If you frequently need one, can you buy one and always have that with you? If you're waiting on one, where can you sit until one arrives to you? If it is your first time flying without oxygen, why would you not bring it just in case? That seems way more dangerous than flying without a second or third free seat. But also, if you need an extra seat, that should already be factored into the travel costs and plans. If the agent at the gate cannot be reasonably expected to push you, can your fiancé push you? What I'm trying to get at here is that you are not a helpless bystander in your own life. You need to come prepared. You need to be proactive with your needs. Beyond the reasonable accommodations, it is no one else's responsibility to make sure that you're comfortable. So stop putting the onus on everyone else to take care of you. Stop calling it discrimination and do something about your personal situation. Whether that's losing weight or come prepared with any of the travel preparations that I listed. Now here's where my opinion gets a little bit spicy. Loving yourself is wonderful, but purporting that you are proud to be the size that you are, given the level of obesity and unhealth, with clear obesity-related complications, like needing oxygen to walk and to fly, I feel like it's a disservice to all obese people, especially the ones that are watching you and believing what you're saying. As an obese person myself, I feel that the world and its amenities are plenty big for my needs. If somebody finds themselves unable to live or to travel within the given parameters that we currently have, I feel as though it is that individual's personal responsibility to change. At 400 pounds, I could no longer fly within one plane seat. I could no longer shop at standard clothing stores, and the seatbelt in my car almost didn't fit around me anymore. But rather than demanding that airlines provide me with special treatment via additional free seating, rather than requiring that ride shares or car manufacturers provide seatbelt extenders, rather than asking big box retailers to increase their sizes, I took it upon myself to realize that I was not being discriminated against. I simply no longer fit into the world around me, and that meant that it was time for me to change. Why would I want the world to accommodate me the way that I was then, when the way that I was then was actively unaliving myself with food? I can't help but feel like the request for the creation of bigger spaces, bigger clothes, longer seatbelts, extra seats, is just a way for obese people to keep accepting the situation that they're currently in. A way for obese people to seek comfort so that they can continue to ignore their unhealthy and frankly deadly behavior. I know that that sounds harsh and that it may be hard to hear, but the first step to changing is acknowledging when it's time to change, and that you are the one that needs to put in the effort and that you have the power to do so. The demand for more accommodation genuinely feels like a gateway to pushing the goalpost further and further, asking for more and more accommodations within which obese people can continue to grow their waistlines and shorten their lifespans. Did you know that my 600-pound life just got renewed for a 12th season? When are we going to stop allowing that behavior from ourselves? We're sick and we're dying, but hey, I guess it makes for great TV. Overall, I think it's just incredibly unreasonable to make obese people out to be these helpless victims that just need accepting, to call everything that doesn't cater to us discrimination, and very honestly, to purport that being obese is okay, because it's really not. If that's where you are now, I do think that's okay. Everyone starts somewhere. I started obese. I am still obese. The only difference is that I am not accepting it. But to act like it's acceptable to treat yourself this way, where you are actively keeping yourself sick, instead of facing the things inside you that drive you to eat, and telling people to just ignore it and love themselves the way that they are, that is such a disservice. That is unacceptable and it is not okay. You should love yourself enough to want to give yourself the healthiest life possible. Do not hide your head in the sand. Do not accept obesity as a body type and fight for your life because you only get one. And I guarantee that at 300 plus pounds, you are missing out on how good it can be. I know this was a hard watch. I know that talking about these things and facing them can be difficult and emotional, especially if it's something that you've been fighting for your whole life. I understand that. But it's time for you to face it, and I really appreciate that you were here with me to face it today. Please let me know how you're feeling down below. I really want to know if I'm way off base here or if any of these opinions or feelings that I have ring true for you. And please subscribe so that we can reach our goals together, because we are not powerless. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next one.
So catch me if I fall.
But as someone...
Hello?